and welcome to day 5, I think, of my end of the year series where I am making bookish content to wrap up the year 2020 and to welcome the year 2021. 2021 is going to be a very prominent topic in this um, today's video because we are going to be talking about 2020 releases, which I am very excited about. I have already made one, so if you've not checked that out, you should check that out. I spoke about international releases in the literary fiction, contemporary, historical fiction, and non-fiction genres. In this one, I will be talking about young adult, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, and thrillers and mysteries. So it's an all-around good time. I have 18 books that I want to talk about, and I'm going to describe them very fast to you. And if you think that this is interesting to you, then do hit like the like button, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff. And also, if you think that I've missed out on any books, then do comment down below with your recommendations and with your most anticipated books that are coming out in these genres, or if any other, that's fine. Yeah, that's it from me in terms of the introduction. Let us begin now. And we begin with young adult, and the first book is a book that I am really excited about. It was announced just this year, but it is called Blackout, and it is a story of multiple authors coming together to write short stories based in New York during one night of a blackout that happens in the city. And they have some really amazing Black women authors, including Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, Nicola Yoon, and Donnell Clayton. I'm sorry, very bad with names. But yes, this is going to be super fun. I am very excited about this, and I'm really excited that such a collaborative effort is happening. So yeah. Oh, also, before I move on, I wanted to say that none of these books are in like any sort of order per se. I've only divided them in terms of like genres, really, and even genres are a little like all over the place. You'll see, but I will be putting like the dates and stuff like that for whichever I do have the dates based on like whatever research I could do in terms of the publisher's website or like Goodreads or whatever. But yeah, that just before I continue more. But the second book that I am so excited about is Concrete Road by Angie Thomas. This is kind of like the prequel to her first debut novel, which was The Hate You Give, or Thug. I absolutely adored that book, and I've actually done a review on it on the Books on Toast channel, so I will link you to that. But I absolutely loved it, and in this one we follow Mav, who is the father of Star, but he is in this book 17-year-old. And he has just discovered that he is going to be a father. He is also in a gang and is trying to like then just navigate the sort of person that he wants to be, along with being like a teen parent. So I just think I just really loved Mav as a character. I really like the family dynamics of The Hate You Give in general, as in the book. So I've really been looking forward to this one, and I cannot wait to read it. The third book is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyemede, and this is Dark Academia, which is really cool. But it is about like this prestigious private school wherein there is this anonymous texter / blackmailer called Ace, and he is like sending these messages to these two Black students and threatening to like reveal their secrets, and like it's a game, but it could be more sinister is what I read, and I was just like, yep, yes, this sounds great. It just sounded really cool to me, and I think it's a debut novel as well, so I'm really excited about it. The next book is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This could also be fantasy, but like it's fine. I think the overarching theme over here is young adult, so it's just gonna remain here. And Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune is basically about this guy who dies, and then I think he doesn't want to like cross over. Like he's a ghost, but he doesn't want to cross over, so he goes to the boatman's village or something like that. And then I think there's like a love interest or something that follows, and I just think that that sounds really cute, and I can't wait to read it. Another book, now we're in the sci-fi fantasy but also sort of young adult genre, is Flashfire by TJ Klune. This is two books by TJ Klune that's on my list, and this is a sequel to The Extraordinaries, which is a book that I read in 2020 and I absolutely loved it. It is basically about this guy called Nick Bell who lives in Nova City, which is a fictional city in which basically there's like a superhero and there's like a super villain, and he writes fan fiction about it, but then he also starts getting like involved in like the superhero and super villain's lives. Like he has like a chance encounter and stuff like that. And yeah, oh my god, it just sounds so good and so interesting. I really loved the characters when I read it. I just thought that Nick Bell was just like a hot mess. Like he was a hot mess. He was like they're all in high school, but like so cute. He's in love with his best friend, but he doesn't really know it. It's just like it's so cute. And I just, as I said, I really like the side characters as well. So I'm really excited to read the book and like be immersed in these characters' lives again. So yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens post. The next sci-fi fantasy book that I mean, like it's a fantasy book, is a book called She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, and I think this might be one of my most anticipated books without me knowing exactly what this book is about, but just the tagline, which was, it said Mulan meets Song of Achilles, and like both of them are just like my favorite things in the entire world. Like Mulan is my favorite Disney movie, and Song of Achilles is just one of my favorite books of all time as well. So just the combination of these is excellent. Like I just need to read this ASAP. And I have no idea what this book is about other than that. So I will link down in the description what the description of the thing so that you can follow it and find out what it is, but I personally do not want to know anything else. I just need to know this and I want to go into the book blind. So I want to tell you about it, but like I also don't want to tell you about it, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, the next one is a book called The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Soor, and this is based on Indian mythology, so I am very intrigued by it. So it's apparently a sapphic romance about this girl Malini who is imprisoned by her brother in his palace, and then there is a Priya who is a maid servant at that palace and also might have like a dark secret and perhaps some magic or something like that, not really sure. And it's essentially about their romance and their journey, I guess, to try to like break out or something, I don't know. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by that because I'm Indian, so Indian mythology is just something that like intrigues me if there's a book that's written on it, so I'm excited about that. But then also second, I'm trying to figure out what it is based off, like what story in the Indian mythology thing is it based off. Like I think it could be like Krishna's father, I think, maybe, I don't know. So like if you know, if you're an Indian and like Indian mythology, please let me know what you think this might be. So yeah, that. Then the next one is Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. And this is again another one of those things where I was just like, I am reading the first two lines and that is all I need to know. And it is about a shunned witch who falls in love with Loki. You know, like like in Norse mythology, Loki, and also like Tom Hiddleston Loki, and that's literally all I needed to know. I was just like, yep, yes, that is it. I am really excited about the new Loki movie as well that's gonna come out. So yeah, I just need more Loki ness in my life right now. And I think just this sounds really good. I will of course link the entire description and etc. down below for you to see. But that is my thoughts right now. And then another one is Medusa by Jessie Burton. Jessie Burton is a pretty famous author. She has written some pretty famous books like The Miniaturist and stuff like that. But this book is I mean, it doesn't really tell you what it's about, but I will read out exactly what it says in like the Goodreads summary, which is like a quote from Burton itself. And essentially, what I think she's trying to do is she's trying to take back Medusa's story, given everything that's happening in the like with the sexual harassment claims, etc., with Trump and with like Harvey Weinstein and all of that sort of stuff. So this is what she says. She says, so often Medusa is robbed of agency, turned into a monster, and used as a stepping stone for heroes. The myth of Medusa is a tale of objectification and toxic masculinity and the meaning of consent. Given the continuous revelations about men like Weinstein and Trump, others we have each encountered on our way of life, Medusa's myth is ripe for retelling. And this book is actually it says that it's going to be published by Bloomsbury Children's Book. So I'm not quite sure in terms of what exactly this book is going to be. Is it going to be a children's book? But I do hope that this is also like a young adult, if not like an adult retelling, because I think that that would sound really cool and really interesting. And yeah, I'm just intrigued by this for sure. And the next one, which I think is like the only sci-fi book in this, I'm sorry, but it is a good one. And that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Andy Weir is an author that I've absolutely fallen in love with because I read The Martian, and I'm not quite a sci-fi person, but I read that book and I was just enthralled. I thought that his writing was just so witty and funny and interesting, and I was completely blown away by it. So I cannot wait to read this book, and this book sounds so good. Like I think if there was a top 5 in terms of like most anticipated, then this would be in it, because it says that basically an astronaut wakes up from his and an astronaut wakes up in a ship and he has amnesia, so he doesn't remember why he's on the ship and that like he's an astronaut or anything like that. But also this he is the only person who's alive on the ship, and this ship is supposed to be a last ditch effort to save humanity. So it's on the mission to save humanity, but he doesn't know because like he has amnesia. So like that just sounds so messy but so good. Like I'm so excited. So yeah, so that is that one sci-fi book that like I'm super intrigued by. But if you have more recommendations, let me know. Oh, and then we move on to romance, which is just like, oh my god. I have chosen 5 romance books, which I just think are going to like melt my cold heart or something like that. But they just sound so good. The first 2 are actually like very close to some of my favorite rom-coms, and I will tell you about them. The first one is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So if Casey McQuiston sounds familiar, they are the author that wrote Red, White and Royal Blue, which was an instantaneous hit in 2018. But this one follows, it has like a Kate and Leopold sort of vibe, which is a very old movie which has Meg Ryan in it, but whatever. Anyway, point is, it is a sapphic book about this girl called August, who falls in love with this girl who she meets on the subway called Jane, but then she finds out that Jane is actually not from today. She is from the 1970s, and then it's like their love story, but also like how to take her back to the 1970s and how she got here and just all of that sort of stuff. And I just think that it sounds so good. Oh my god. And I just love Kate and Leopold. So Yeah, that one. And the next one is Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey, which sounds very like You've Got Mail, which is funny because both of these are Meg Ryan movies. But like, well, Meg Ryan was the queen of like 90s rom-coms. Fight me on that. Also Sandra Bullock, but whatever. So anyway, so You've Got Mail book is essentially it's called Last Chance Books. Sorry. But I will call it You've Got Mail books. Anyway, point is, it's about a bookstore owner of an independent bookstore, like a small, musty, little, dusty independent bookstore, who is then now fighting against a chain bookstore worker, who opens up like a bookstore like right around the corner. Um, and then it's basically like them fighting, but also maybe love sprouting up, and it just sounds so cute. So yeah, that is that book. The next book is actually a sequel of a romance book that I read this year, which is Slow Burn by Olivia Dade. This is a sequel of sorts of spoiler alert, it's basically set within the same world and within the same people, sort of like a side character of spoiler alert, and it follows this character called Alex. And we kind of already kind of saw like the blueprint of how the romance went in the first book in spoiler alert. So I'm excited to see like exactly how it moves forward, because I just really like Alex as a character. He just seems so messy but amazing, you know what I mean? But what I really like about this world is that it is set in both Alex and the main character of spoiler alert, like the main dude character, I'm forgetting his name. They are both actors in like a TV show which is like super famous, but it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Like everyone knows it's Game of Thrones. And I was a huge Game of Thrones fan. And we all know the heartbreak of season, like the last season. And they talk about this extensively, about how the showrunners have absolutely ruined the last season. So, and it follows like a lot of fan fiction and just stuff like that, and it's just really cute. And yeah, so that one. And then the next one is Heartbreak for Hire by Sonia Hart, and this follows a character who is a girl who works in a secret like agency, which is essentially where people can hire you to break someone else's heart. So like this could be like a ex-lover, or like a person who's an asshole or whatever. You just hire them to like break that other person's heart. And she works there, and it's all women, but essentially the agency decides to then now hire men, and they hire this one guy whose heart she had to break. And just that just sounds like, oh my god, so awkward but amazing. But I'm assuming there were like some things that happened, and like it might be steamy, but also like, I don't know, it just sounds like fun, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah. And then the next one is A Fur Love Story by Lon Le, who is a Vietnamese author, Vietnamese American author, and this follows two Vietnamese American teens who fall in love, but their parents are from rival like Vietnamese restaurants. So there are two Vietnamese restaurants in that town, and they just fight, and they are both kids from those separate Vietnamese restaurants. And I just think that this sounds so cute. And I just can't wait to read this one. It just, oh my god, yeah. And now we move on to the last genre, which is thrillers and mysteries. So for this, we start off with The Project by Courtney Summers. And this is a culty sort of book. So I love cult driven books. I don't know, I just like really like, they intrigue me, you know. So this basically follows two sisters, one who has joined like a cult or something like that called the Unity Project, and another sister who always has felt like there's something wrong with this cult, but she can't like prove exactly what's wrong with it of sorts. But then there's this man who comes to the magazine where she works and says that his son was killed by the cult. So then she tries to like investigate what's happening and tries to get like her sister out of it and like all of that sort of stuff. And I just, again, it's like the whole sibling dynamic aspect of it, which I think is really interesting. But also like the cult aspect of it and just like the mystery and the thrill of it. So yeah, that just sounds really cool. The next book is a book called A Dark and Secret Place by Jen Williams. And this also sounds really cool. So it is a book about a girl who has to come back to her hometown and her like house because her mom unexpectedly committed suicide. It was very surprising. And when she's going through her stuff, she realizes that her mom was actually talking to a very well-known serial killer while he was in jail. And she's like, what the fuck is happening with that? And then they find out that there's another murder that has happened in somewhere around with the exact same like MO of the serial killer. And the serial killer has always said that he was like he was not guilty. So it's just that whole story, and I just think that like that entire thing just sounds so interesting. So yeah, so I can't wait to find out what happens. The next book, which is the second last book, is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. And this is the same author that wrote The Silent Patient, which was like a hit, but I didn't like it as much. I thought it was nice, but like, nah. But this concept just sounds really cool, so it's intriguing. So it is, I will read Weaving Together Greek Mythology, Murder, and Obsession. And this again has dark academia in it. But essentially it follows like this girl who's like a therapist now. I don't know what he has with therapists, but whatever. Who's also an ex-student at Cambridge who firmly believes that her professor, like one of her professors, is a murderer. And like she's obsessed with it. Like she's obsessed with trying to prove that he murdered someone. And then another murder happens. And then she's just trying to like solve it and trying to like prove that he is the one who killed all of these women, girls, two women, two girls. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that sounds really good. And then the last one is just sounds so good, and that is Pride and Premeditation by Tizra Price or Tirza Price. And this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling but with a murder mystery. I mean, so cool. So this follows like a modern day situation where Liz Bennett is a lawyer, and she works at this agency where Mr. Darcy is like the heir to the agency, like the law firm. And they convict this one guy who she firmly believes is not the right like person who committed this murder. So she wants to go and find out who actually committed the murder and solve the crime. And I don't know, like I think like Darcy is like gonna try to stop her, or like some shit's gonna happen for sure. But I'm just like, that just sounds so cool that like there's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, or like Austentanian retellings, but with like murder mystery. So that's so cool. And that is the end of my 18 books that I want to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. If there was anything that I missed out on, again, please do comment down below and let me know if there is a book that you are like instantly putting on your TBR list. Also let me know. I just like to chat about books. And yeah, do check out the books that are coming up. I'm going to be talking about Indian books, as I said, in the next 2 videos. And I've already put up another one before. So yeah, I hope this was good. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.